Before you, you see a de Havilland Swallow. This one was designed for JetX and it's half the size. I've blown it up 200% and thinking, yep, let's make a ducted fan version similar to what I did with the Vampire, except this one is going to be a lot bigger. So just studying the plan, that the fuselage is made up with formers, which is no good for ducted fan because all these have to be hollow. So I was wondering maybe I could make it up like that, plank it and cover it with glass, epoxy and hollow it out. I kind of think that would work. And then with the wings, maybe carbon spars that plug straight into the centre section, which would be all part of the fuselage and planked, because originally this was covered with sheet for strength. So I think that could work. Just looking at this, the air intakes are solid block, which is no good. I need air intakes, so I can build that up as well, make it hollow, and then mount the fan somewhere in the centre. Now the fan I'm talking about is this one here in this MiG 15, which some of you may have seen me flying. It's really beat up, but good fun. So in the back of this one there is a fan which comes out really easily. Let's just unplug the ESC. So there's the fan. It's 5-blade flan. It's a 5-blade fan, and as you can see, it sits in there quite nicely. Height, so 200% seems about right. Centre of gravity is here, so it could go a little bit further back because I have to get a battery in the front. So I can make it pretty much the same as this. If the air intakes are here, everything in front is nothing to do with the airstream, so I can put the battery up here just as it is in the MiG, except in the MiG, interestingly, it does pull in the front, the air, and most of it goes down underneath the plywood plate that the rudder gear sits on. So it's going to be elevons only, and wing area wise, guts hanging out. Wing area wise, it's kind of similar, isn't it? Maybe a little bit bigger, just very slightly. Fuselage a little bit slimmer. So I think it's a goer. I think it's going to be a fun build. So looking back at the stick, I have to cut some formers out. Maybe I can include this and knock it out afterwards. So pretty much cut the formers out as shown, and the keel, it's got a keel, this shaded part, which I'll extend all the way to the back. I'm not quite sure about the exit. I probably have to do what they've done pretty much sort of like on here, and that is to carve away at the back here. So I've got a great big exit. Even if I maintain the side panels a bit, this bit underneath can be opened right up. And if these intakes aren't enough, I'll make them bigger than that. I can have some cheek holes in the bottom to help with that. So I think you'll agree, an interesting project. F1 and F8 have got the slots for the stringers. The rest of the formers just show the positions on the outside. So you fix it in position here and it just fits where it fits as it goes over, which is sort of quite nice, not having to cut all these. But I've got to find some wood. This would be, doesn't have to be very heavy, just whatever, 16th. That's an interesting shape. What's that, F6? Why is it that little shape there? That goes into the trailing edge section. Up here, takes RK2. Yeah, see, when you're changing the construction of a model completely, really, you've got to think about these things a little bit. But first thing to do is to cut out a keel and cut out some formers and get that stuck up, and then I can start thinking about fitting the fan. And there's one thing that does slightly concern me, is how do you launch it, because it's quite a slippery fuselage section. You might be able to get your hand around it. Yes, you get your hand around there. So there's the finished model, and I think it'll fly. It's got a fair degree of washout. It's got a fair degree of washout built into the tips, which need to be accounted for as I build the wings, but we'll look at those separately. And maybe this rear spar can also be brought into here for strength. And servos come out here, F4 being the fattest rib for servo, with the connection here for the elevons. Yeah, so the first thing to do is construct this fuselage and wing stubs, and I'll just say plank it all. So there we are. So join me in this rather fun project, and we'll see how we get on. Okay, so I've studied the plan, and I think I've come up with what I'm going to do. So I've squared off the formers, and I'm going to put a notch here for the keel, which is going to be 1/8 of an inch, like that. So it's got to be a 1/16. That one's going to be a 1/16. You've got to study the plan and understand what the designer was thinking, because this one here, it's got to be squared down as well. Got to understand what the designer was thinking if you're to change the plan to what you think, so, or how you're going to change it. So I'm going to put 1/8 of an inch there, and the best part is yet to come. I'll tell you in a minute. Put 1/8 of an inch there, 1/8 of an inch there, there, say, and that one there. So the original aircraft has the notches in the front. These are the positions of the stringers. But I think I'm going to epoxy glass the outside. So I want to sheet it, but then I thought, well, it's just going to end up it's going to lose a lot of the character. So I'm thinking I might tissue it, and then in the tissue you'll get the slight indentation as the tissue shrinks, like that, and then I'll glass epoxy over the top of that, so I'll still in theory retain the shape of the tissue but be incredibly strong, well, much stronger than it would have been. So that's what I think I'm going to do. Quite excited about that. So all I need to do now is to cut out these formers to the red lines, and then when I've got those cut out, I'll get the plan down and cut out the keels, which also need to be changed. In fact, let's look at it now. I'm going to ignore this part of the keel because this is to do with the JetX motor, and also the notches in the formers for these. I don't need those, that's why I've drawn them straight down. These notches here, there's one there, big one there, small one there, small one there. Don't need those, but I do need this keel to be extended up, and the plan called for stringers between F4 and F7, this area here, just to form edges of the well, how do they phrase it, a trough. But I'm going to actually use those same area to actually form a keel. So we're looking at 1/4 inch. So let's just put a couple of dots on here, because I'm actually going to take the shape of the keel from this plan. Maybe one there. that is going to be the keel, which will continue all the way along. Probably make it in 2 parts. So I can cut out the keel, K1, keel, K2, K3, and we'll put a join just there, say there, over that. That'll be K3 and this will be K4. Okay, I'll come back, guys, when I've got all these beautiful parts cut out. Doing quite well, guys. I've got most of them cut out. In fact, I've got all of them cut out. F7, F6, F1. Where's my F1's gone? There we go. F1. I know I've got to cut out 2. I've cut out 2 already. I just draw around them. And not draw around them, cut around them. Carefully cut around them. And you end up with a replica. But F8 is the smallest one and probably the trickiest one to cut out. So what I'm doing is I've marked, add all these dots because I dot them around, which is the ones to be removed. And I cut out the notches first, because if you cut out the notches second, chances are you'll end up splitting the wood. Well, almost certainly. So just work your way carefully around. This one's a bit longer. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go back from this side. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to remove this like that, and I can maneuver it. Go back this side. And I'm going to go like that. Sometimes it's just the width of the blade which will split it across. I've got my CA ready just to glue it if it does, but so far so good. And because I've scaled this up to 200%, so it actually is quite an easy bit to cut out because these are 1/8 slots. You could file the slots if you wanted. Well, the other essential is a very sharp blade. I'm not trying to do it all in one, you notice. I'm just doing little bits. And look underneath, there's nothing showing because I haven't really gone into it that hard. Once you understand what the grain of the wood does and where it can split, makes the job a lot easier. I'm just connecting the dots up. I'm not going all the way through yet. Might focus on this end a minute. Notice I'm supporting the wood as well when I pull the blade out, because the blade can sort of get stuck in the wood. Another reason not to go straight down there is the width of the blade. The cutting part of the blade is very narrow, but as you go in, it's thicker and thicker, and that thickness has to be accommodated. In doing so, you'll split the wood, split the bit you don't want. If you come in from the sides back to the middle bit. Join that one up yet, look. That one to there, that one to there. You don't have to take this much time doing it, but it's all part of the process, isn't it? It's a relaxing and satisfying job. That's not too bad. I'm happy with that. Now all I have to do is another one. I'm going to mark F8 on that because it shows me which is the top and which is the bottom, and it's easy to get these upside down if you're not careful. There we are. Now the second lot will be a lot quicker to cut out because I don't have to put all the pins in. It's just a matter of tracing around them. And then I can cut the keels out and start construction. Lovely. Alright, I've cut out a keel as well as all my formers, which are looking rather splendid there, and the keel pieces. That's for the other side when I make it, and they're pinned roughly into position. Well, they are pinned into position, and I can now pop the formers in. And I think I'll start with number 1, and then I'm not working, I can work away from myself. So number 1 actually goes on the face of those like that. The only consideration I've got is I have to make sure they're lined up. Now I could do with a piece of 1/8 balsa, there with. I've got a bit of 1/8 balsa and a bit of 3/32 balsa. I've got the 3/32 just in case it decides it's going to be too tight a fit. That one's okay. So, and I want to make sure that's directly over the plan. So I'm going to use a couple of these just to make sure, just by putting them either side of where it's showing on the plan, which is there and there. Then that has to be perfect, doesn't it? And I think I'm going to use CA, and I also need to make sure that one is upright, otherwise my nose cone is going to be a wobbly fit. And that's a nice fit actually, that looks very nice. So I can just drop some CA onto that join and CA that join. I'm going to use CA for speed, and the whole lot's going to be epoxied anyway, so it's not like it's going to be particularly brittle or anything. We can move on down now to F2, which is that one there. Now these are notched, and I can lift this one out now, temporarily anyway. That goes like that, and I want to get them as accurately as possible for them to join up the other side, although a lot of these are going to be hollowed out. I just wonder if I ought to hollow them out a bit now. So the battery's going to go in there. They're only really in there to hold the stringers when I put them in. I think I'll press on actually. So that one has to go there. It's going to need slightly fettling. I think I'll just take a little bit off of there for a second. Try that. There we are. Now, because of the curvature of the fuselage, I'm going to have to just sort of do this. I'll put it in the middle of these lines because this is 1/8 of an inch. Haven't blown up, it's 1/8 of an inch. The lines are 1/8 of an inch apart, but the former's 16. Or shall I just push it all to one side? It might be easier actually if I just push them all to, I think I'll go forward like that, be easier to line up. Now I can have a look at F3. 1, 2, 3. Some of these are going to have to be milled out. Like this is the actual air intake, but I'll mill it all out after it's assembled. And there's actually a 1/8 slot through that one. So that'll line things up a bit as well. Before I do that, let's just check it fits. Goes in there. Put that there for weight. This will be quite delicate when I take it off, but I'll put a couple of stringers down there just to hold it all into position a little bit. I'm asked on every video, where do I get these blocks from? And they're called 321 blocks, and they're available from Amazon or Temu, probably cheapest on Temu actually. Temu, however you'd like to pronounce it. And they're called 321 or 123 blocks. I've put F4, I've marked all the former positions on them because it's easy to get them upside down and then nothing will line up. So I've got them reading correctly so I can read it and that I know which is the bottom. Taken my time cutting these formers out, been in no hurry. They've taken me longer than it would have taken me to draw them up and print them on the laser. But it's been very relaxing doing it. I've actually enjoyed it immensely. Oh, stuck my finger to it, of course. Okay, next please. Next is F5. Looks okay, doesn't it? Right, here we go, number 6. Lovely fit. Number 7. 8 and 7. Getting down to the little nitty gritty ones now. Right, last one. Okay, now I think we can just add a little bit more to there and they look okay. So there we are. that's one side kind of done. Now there is a piece of wood I could put in here to hold those. That's on the other sheet. In fact, it's over here. Let's just quick look at the plan. Looking at RK1, which is this one here, which is 1/8 sheet. So if I cut that one now, I can put that in those 4 holes there, and that will hold those tight for me. And I can lay up the other side. Now, I'm not going to glue that in yet. I've got to study a bit more the plan, I think. Now I think this one goes in here and bends around, and I might have to steam it or wet it. That slots in there, slots in there, slots in there. And then goes down. Yes, that goes down in there. That would make more sense. Yeah. It goes in there like that. Doesn't line up too badly. That's not bad. And this one comes down into there like that. Now it's a good idea to steam it, because it's just going to try and pull that up to meet it. So I think what we'll do is work on that tomorrow morning and steam it around. It's too late to do it now. It's really trying to pull the whole lot up. So what we'll do, guys, we'll leave the build here for this week. We've made a good start. We've examined the plan. We've cut out the formers. We've got the first keel in, got the sides in. So look out for part 2 next week, and we'll crack on with this rather beautiful swallow, ducted fan swallow. Brilliant. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. It does help the channel to grow and get promoted. And if you are subscribed, give us a thumbs up as well, or do both if you're not. Cheers, guys. See you next week.